Nigerians spend more than 60% of their income on food on average. Historically, food inflation has tracked at least 200 basis points above core inflation. Since 2016, SBM Intelligence has curated their Jollof Index by collecting food prices monthly in a growing number of markets across the 6 geopolitical zones in Nigeria. And we have an analyst with us from SBM Intelligence, Rosemary Enemo, joining us to discuss their latest SBM Intelligence report for Q2 2020. Good morning to you, Rosemary. Welcome to the show. So if you could describe to us your index and how you come about putting things together, please take it away.
Right. Thank you, Reuters. Basically, the Jollof Index is an economic indicator, just like we have the fuel price watch, just like we have the transportation watch. Basically, it's just an economic indicator created by SBM Intelligence. So it's a microeconomic indicator. Basically, we go into the market, into the field, looking for economic prices that indicates the quality of life or economic condition of people living in Nigeria. It's a more relatable economic indicator. Everybody eats jollof rice. Every home in Nigeria. It's relatable everywhere in the country. So, of course, we use this tool to detect or see how economic condition is, if it's rising, if it's falling, if it's deteriorating, basically.
Okay, great stuff. So what have been your findings with this latest report that you've just put out?
Right. Okay, so finding from July 2020, Q2 2020, basically, this report says that the coronavirus dropped in
March? Just about March, yes.
Right. So the coronavirus, the fuel price drop, and basically global economic meltdown has impacted the commodities, the price of commodities, of course, of which we're talking about is the food price commodities. Right. So basically what this report is saying, in short, is just saying that the coronavirus has worsened the condition of food. People are now spending more on food. Talking about the jollof rice, it indicates that people are now deviating from making jollof rice. They're now going to taking gari, eating beans, something different from jollof rice, because jollof rice is now more expensive to cook, or a pot of jollof rice is now more expensive to make in the family, basically.
Okay, and if we look at, just had a prior chart up there, if you go through some of the images we have in your latest report, for example, we're comparing food inflation to core inflation. I think with the chart that we have up there, I think it's prior to this one, the previous chart that we just had. Food inflation is outpaced. There we go. That's it. So food inflation in the orange bar. If we go from 2019 all through to May 2020, Rosemary, it's consistently outpaced core inflation. I guess this is due to demand and what Nigerians have been spending on food.
Right, Reuters. So this here is the core inflation, headline inflation, of course, is basically saying that food inflation is 200% higher. What are the reasons why are they higher? Of course, like you rightly said before this, you said Nigerians spend more than 60% of their income on food. This explains that, okay, you want to know the reason why food is now more expensive. You have to look at logistics, transportation. You have to look at, of course, the coronavirus, like I earlier mentioned. You have to look at logistics, cost of transportation, the lockdown, basically, as regards this latest edition. But previously, there are other economic policies that have impacted the continuous increase in food inflation. We want to look at the border closure. We want to look at some monetary policies by the CBN, maybe. We want to look at of course, all these ranges that impact on the prices of food. Looking closely at recent events, of course, the coronavirus, lockdown, increase in transportation, and what have you, you'll find out that prices of food skyrocketed. Before the closure or before the lockdown, basically, there was a surge in food, what the people called panic buying. So here are the things, here are the components or the index that makes up this continuous increase in prices of food. Of course, there are like infrastructural problems attributing to this event, basically.
All right, thanks. I think we should have, there's another, you also looked at the food Jollof Index by states. I think it was a national average where you looked at the different geopolitical zones and also, I guess, the average of prices across okay, yeah, there it is. The Jollof Index by state, market versus national average. So I guess the national average is somewhere in the middle in orange. What's that? I think that 39.5 points. And Wuse too, my goodness, over in Abuja, they're at the high end, at the top, at the far end at the right. And Onisha on the left-hand side, they're on the lower end. So I guess you're just aggregating the points going by the different, I guess, different areas, different states, and then the national average is in the middle there.
Right, Rotus. So here's how we do the methodology. Basically, we curate data from markets. We go into the markets, we find the market prices from the sellers. Of course, we also do what we call in-depth interview, where we call various people around the country, of course. We'll call home, like women, we'll call market women, officers, basically all around trying to know the prices of food, more reference to making a pot of jollof rice. So here we have, this is for 13 markets in 9 cities. Of course, you can see Calabar, you can see Abuja, Lagos, Oyo. You can see in the southeast, you can see Onitsha and Oka. So yeah, we create all the prices for each of the edition. If it's Q2, if it's Q1, we create all prices, like average prices across the states. And of course, we also find the average, that's a national average. So here is saying that it's less expensive to make food in the southeast than to make in Wuse. You'd want to ask why. Why is that? It's tricks to so many things, basically. So in Wuse too, you have high cost of living, high standard of living. You want to check the cost of transportation from carrying food from markets, like I earlier mentioned, logistics, carrying food from markets to the inner cities. The same thing too in Lagos. You can see, also you can see in Bodija and Dubai. You can also see in Trade Fair. Basically, it says that the cost of food, or the cost of, the cost of food in making food in these places are more expensive due to logistics reason, high cost of living in those places compared to some other places that can be closer to the markets, basically.
All right, Rosemary Enemo, I wanted to get into the other geopolitical zones. We're running out of time. We'll have to have you back when you update us on your next report. Thank you so much for taking us through that. That's Rosemary Enemo, research analyst at SBM Intelligence, taking us through their Jollof Index. Thank you so much for your time.